Hello, everybody. It is Thursday night, August 8th, and Scott Fishman is here for another edition
Hello.
of What's Up Wrestling. How are you? We are here to discuss the fallout from WWE SummerSlam, but Scott here was actually there, right? So we're getting a firsthand account of SummerSlam. Before we get into all the minutia, how was your trip to Cleveland? And did you get home okay? Because I know there was a storm.
Yeah, it was it was a whirlwind, like a very exhausting trip because I had the bright idea to tag on a birthday trip to Vegas first and then fly from Vegas to Cleveland. Um, and then we did the media morning and then we did SmackDown. We got to do some tourist spots like the Christmas Story House. We did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is right next to the stadium, which was very
Is it
convenient.
cool? Is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah. That was a bucket list for me, getting to walk
Okay.
around there. It was, as you would expect, very busy. But what was the cool thing about it is, how when WWE comes to a city, they literally take over the city. And to hear like Chelsea Green's music, I'm a hot mess at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, when you see like Billy Joel items and all this iconic stuff. You see Michael Jackson's jacket, and you're hearing like I'm a hot mess. So that was a nice juxtaposition there. But really exciting stuff. Really cool. It's interesting because now SummerSlam has that WrestleMania vibe to it, because you
Right.
have people that come from all over, to go to the city, the host city. And it makes sense now that all these places are bidding on WWE, because they literally take up a lot of, they take over. Like, it wasn't just, WrestleMania, and it wasn't just SmackDown. They had the Damian Priest 24 screening. They had photo opportunities. They had all this. Sami Zayn and Friends did a show. So they make sure that if you're gonna come for WWE, you're gonna take up all your time at WWE. And for me, I wanted to get some tourist stuff done, so it's like picking and choosing. But the energy of the place was incredible. But one thing I will say, I think next time, if Cleveland does host a big WWE event, they need to level up a little bit. Like, aside from like when I got off the plane, I literally just saw, little small signs. One thing that they did not have was on the street poles. They didn't have the banners. You know how, when you're walking around the city and you see like SummerSlam or WrestleMania and you see some of the participants, there was none of that. So I feel like it wasn't like WWE'd enough, the city itself. So, and I know, of course other things went on that there, but it was crazy. Also, one other thing I'll say is, after the show was a little crazy, because they actually did an article about this. You're talking about 57,000 people from that stadium or so. And then you have the Guardians game going on not that far from there. So that's like over 95,000 people in that city getting in and out. It took me over 2 hours to get out of my parking garage at the stadium. And I stayed a little bit longer. And then I walked over, and I had a decent walk to my car for the parking garage, and getting out of that parking garage took that long of a time. So just craziness stuff, but always a good time. But yeah, so that was my kind of experience in a nutshell.
But I was watching your social media. I believe you got 6 WWE superstars. You talked to Rhea Ripley, right? You talked to Rhea, Braun,
Yeah.
right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Rhea Ripley. Yeah,
Braun.
Rhea Ripley. Braun Breaker, Jade Cargill, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now.
Baron Corbin.
Yes, Baron Corbin. Who that's going to be a fun one.
I watched your interview, Scott.
I have a really good one with Baron coming up, and then we did a media scrum for Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, which is going to be a fun one. So got a lot of great content. But media has gotten so crazy at these events. Like, it was just a lot of maneuvering and getting through and kind of
were the usual suspects there? The usual suspects in the media day from the press?
Yeah. You see the familiar faces, but it's interesting how being in doing this for so long as I have, you're seeing a lot more women in the field, which is really
Yes.
awesome to see. So you're seeing a lot of diversity and leaning into the YouTube space and the influencer space. That's a unique change for me because before it was all like, the print, the traditional prints and, newspapers, magazines. Now it's a lot more push for the YouTube channel and all that other stuff. So
Were any of the WWE superstars that you interviewed this time, had you never interviewed before, any of them, or you interviewed all of them before?
Yeah, I've interviewed Jade Cargill. I interviewed in AEW, so it was nice to have her talk to me in the WWE space. But yeah, everyone I've been fortunate enough to have interviewed before, but with it's fun though, making me feel old. Is Baron Corbin? I remember, and I showed him a photo, and I did a side by side, and I posted it on Twitter or X. Basically, I remember going to the NXT shows, the FCW shows that they used to do at the Miami Fair in South Florida, and they used a really cool environment. It was an outdoor space. They had the ring set up, and they had matches. They had a meet and greet. They have, guys like Ricky Steamboat. They brought a legend in to do like an autograph signing or something like that. But they were setting up interviews, and we were asking like, okay, who's gonna be good in the future? Like, who are some of the talent that you want to talk that I should talk to right now that you see as being someone in the future? And one of the guys that I did speak to, interesting enough, along with Brodus Clay was one of those people.
Oh my gosh.
Was Baron Corbin. So I had a photo, kind of like one of those candid shots that I shared with him. So that was a fun one. He's a really great interview, to be honest. And always I bring back also that night also, just so you know, Naomi was one of the other names that night too. So
were we glowing? Was the glow?
Before the glow? This was pre-glow.
Pre-glow. Well,
pre-glow. Yeah.
I was hoping to go. I was planning to go. I will not go into the whole thing, but needless to say, I did not make it to Cleveland. But Scott and I planned on at least saying hello in Cleveland, but I did not make it there, so I'm living through Scott. Needless to say, I watched SummerSlam from a hospital bed. So that's all I'll tell you.
Oof, that's dedication, though. He's like texting me, messaging me from the house. So when are we going to do this show? I'm like, dude, you need to get out of the hospital first. Like, he's like, we can do it in the hospital room. And I know people are going to be coming in and out, but we can do this. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, what are you talking about right now?
I was so bummed. So I literally was sitting on a laptop in the hospital room. And this is the best part. They're coming in, when you're in a hospital, everyone's coming in, like the nurses all the time and different people to check on you. And I was trying for those 4 hours just to be left alone, or 5 hours to watch SummerSlam. And they're coming in, they're like, we need to take, I said, no, come back in 20 minutes. So I was trying to watch these matches and I kept getting interrupted by the staff. So needless to say, it's not a good place to be when you're trying to watch a premium live event, because I was like, please come back in 30 minutes. And they were getting mad at me. Anyways, priorities. They're like, you are screwed, man. And I'm like, no, I want to see this. I'm like, this is work. Anyways, we should talk about what happened on SummerSlam and the fallout. And I do want to first start the first match of the night. I thought was one of the best matches of the night, which was Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. I just thought that match was really good. I don't know what you thought of the match before we get into the whole thing at the end, but I thought it was a great match.
Yeah, one thing I've been particularly impressed with is Liv Morgan. She has clearly put in the work, and you're seeing it show in like quality of matches. She's always like busting out new moves or showing like a new skill set, like submissions or something like that. And her and Rhea Ripley have such a great chemistry. I mean, they have such a great history too together. So it was fun to finally, see it in a different space, because before it was always, Liv Morgan that we knew before, and she was, this, it's like David versus Goliath, but in a sense, she kind of really stepped up and really stepped in to the role of women's champion this time, especially compared to the last reign she had. I don't know. I feel like there's a renewed confidence here in her abilities. And, I'm happy she actually retained the championship, because I think there's definitely more story to tell here. But I thought it was a great first match. If you're not in the last match, you want to be in the first match because that's the
I
hot
agree.
crowd getting out of the gate. I thought it was great. One of the better best women's matches I've seen on the PLEs in a long time, which is saying something because we've seen some great matches.
Right. And I know you and I talked before you went to Cleveland. We were like predicting what was going to happen. We definitely saw the swerve coming. We called it. What did you think about how it went down? I thought it was great. I really thought it was great because this is Rhea's reaction. And this is this.
They really went for it too with that kiss.
I thought they really went for it. And I cannot believe the success of Dominic and how he is in this whole thing like this. But what did you think when you were watching it? Were you like, I'm right? You knew exactly what was going to happen?
Well, I think what was great was, you can see something coming. And, you see it in movies, TV shows, whatever. And even though you see it coming, you don't know how it's going to happen. Right. And even giving you that little sliver of doubt, like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen tonight because you see like Dominic a little bit concerned, things like that. So you're kind of like thinking in the back of your head, is this really not going to happen? And then it does happen. And then you're like, okay, this is cool. So I think they pulled it off really well. And if you saw, what happened on Monday Night Raw, you saw the payoff of it. That crowd was hot for that.
Look at this group. She's in the Judgment Day. Like, what? Yeah.
That's going to be fun to see how they grow as a group and that whole dynamic change. And it's cool to see Finn at the forefront, but that's, down the line. But overall, I think it set the stage really well for what we were going to see next.
Right. And I was going to say, they knew, you could see the WWE knew from the heartbeat of everything that Rhea and Damian could be great baby faces, right? So they don't need the Judgment Day. They don't, right? So it's like they're their own thing. I don't, I'm assuming. How do you think Damian's run as a baby face will go against Judgment Day?
I'm really happy with how things have panned out on Raw. I don't know. I felt like a renewed intensity or, just a fresh, like him losing the title almost was like a good thing for him in a sense. Cause I think so, I just feel he has like a reason to like feel really motivated right now. And the fans, I feel like it was brilliant though, the timing of it too, of his documentary coming out, because people are already like connected to him and then they're tugged at the heartstrings. And I thought the timing of that was amazing. And I think that would definitely benefit him. And you see the energy of those two together. There's just something special of them together as opposed to everyone else on the Judgment Day. It's like a different kind of relationship that you see on screen between the two of them, like brother and sister. I love how they call them the Terror Twins. So there's a lot of marketing that you could do with that.
You mean Rhea and Damian?
Yeah, Rhea and Damian. Yeah, together. But, yeah.
And now, were you the one that talked to her, Rhea, about her wedding? Wait, did you?
I feel like everybody asked her about getting married. I didn't like ask specifics about her wedding itself, but everyone I'm sure asked her about, being married. I'm more focused on. It's so interesting, like how you have when you're an actor in Hollywood and stuff like that, you don't have this kind of weird little issue of like being a character and then having a real life and then kind of bleeding over into the two, and they definitely do. So there's like the scripted world and the reality world and then like the meshing of the two, and it's a good storyline when people are still invested despite maybe in the back of your head knowing or maybe forgetting about what's going on in real life. So
Candace Mack is with us. It was so delicious. Yes, it was, Candace. I agree. I was sitting here in my hospital room. I was like, this is so good. That, the kiss, Rhea looking on at them, the shots, it was really, it could have been in a soap opera, Scott. It really could have. It was perfect. It was perfect. So what did you think then? Were you, when I'm kind of going over to Gunther and Damian Priest, we knew Gunther had to win this match. But what did you think of the actual match?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I thought, Damian proved what kind of a great champion he was. And Gunther just brings such a different level of believability. And it is because when you step into a match with Gunther, you better, be ready to kind of hit back. And, both guys kind of brought it, and that was great. Beyond just the storyline component of it, I think both guys delivered a really great match, as you kind of would expect between the two. But like you said, it was it was Gunther's time to win the championship, and now we have what's going on with Damian and Finn, and the callback. I think what's great about WWE storytelling, I think right now, is no longer is it like just one segment, and you're focusing on a different story. This is carried throughout. Yes.
Yes. There's such a through line. In soap operas, we have trouble with the shows that are airing now. We're like, what's going on? Like, it's kind of, sometimes these stories just don't work. In WWE right now, I can harken back to this moment from here. Things somehow connect all back together, even though they may have been a year ago. There's things that are connecting, which is such great storytelling, which is what I thought was fabulous. So what was it like were you where were you seated during the show?
I was in the press box. So one of the cool things about the press box is you have what's going on in the stadium, but you also have the TV on, you have the commentary. So when you're at a live event, maybe you want the commentary, but you do get, the glass is there in this particular stadium where, before, I think it was in Philadelphia, we had the windows open and you can kind of get the energy. So you didn't get the full impact of the reactions when you're in when you're in that particular press box, but, you could still see the energy and pop, like, we'll talk about Roman's, return, but just the sense of everything. So
was everybody, in terms of the press corps, were they screaming and rooting and along? That's
always a fun thing too, because like it's like, you're working, and then it's like this weird dynamic because, you're showing, like, you're cheering and you're, and I feel like it's gotten like that more and more as time has gone on in the press box, where you're seeing people wear wrestling shirts and bringing like, they're just unabashed wrestling fans, which, you can have your opinion. Like, some people were like, okay, why are you coming dressed like that? You're not supposed to be acting like that. And then other people are like, embrace what you are. This is a unique business, do what you can, but still maintain some sort of professionalism. So I see both sides of it, but it's just a unique atmosphere because you're seeing people cheering and getting excited.
I was so excited at WrestleMania when I was in the press box. I've never seen it. Everyone went nuts for Bayley's win. They were all so for Bayley that when Bayley won, it was like they erupted. At least for my.
Well, I have a question for you, having been at other, a lot of experience on award shows and things like that. Do you kind of see that kind of similar energy where people are cheering when somebody wins, like from the backstage area?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like when we're at the daytime Emmys, for instance, or we're at the Emmys and we're waiting for the, who to get called, you'll hear some of us go, woo, or, however, it's not as intense because we're not like in a press box up above us. There's something about that energy that was very alive and different. But yes, I would say so too, because I think at the core, when you're part of you must like it in some way if you're covering it, I guess. Some people, I guess, do it for a living. Some people are very passionate about it. But I thought it was interesting with the wrestling fans at what I saw at WrestleMania. Candace is saying, and I wanted to ask you if you agree with this, Scott, that we're talking about Liv and Dominic and Rhea. It reminded me of Jericho and Trish when Jericho and Christian had their match and ended with Jericho and Trish kissing in front of Christian. Right?
Yeah. I mean, except the role reversed, like with Dominic turning. In that case, it was Trish turning on Jericho. That was great storytelling from start to finish, where it started out with a bet where Jericho, he kind of, in a way, got what he deserved when you think about it, how things kind of started out with Trish. And I love that whole storyline with Lita and Trish. And I'm sure a lot of people are kind of like rolled their eyes and looked the other way. But, I love that sort of thing sometimes where we're having those kind of stories.
So I have a Trish Stratus story. Did I tell you that?
All right.
Okay.
No, fire away. She's one of my favorites, so go ahead.
No, one of mine too. So when I worked for the WWE and I was there as a writer, 2000, I believe it was 2000, Trish was there, and I believe she was newer there. And, we had to do like we had, I'm going to call them for the sake of this conversation, her promo or her monologue, and they would have me go I'd sit down with her and run the monologue, like run it with her.
Nice.
Because she was very green, it was very
Yeah.
new. And she was great, like great. This is a person, but she was new. So it was like, let's go over this again. So we'd be running the lines of the promo. And I just remember like being in this like locker room. It was like whatever you call whatever room we were in at the arena, and running it with Trish Stratus. Looking back on it now, I can't believe I've been to have that opportunity. Like, that is so amazing. And I always thought she was fantastic, but she was green back then. She wasn't like, I'm going to get in the ring and do my promo, to what you see she does these days,
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because when I got home from my trip, of course, I'm watching more wrestling, but I love the A&E documentary, so I watched the Trish Stratus one. So it's funny that you're kind of bringing this up now, because it's fresh in mind, because I'm watching, how she started out, and she always put in the work, and how she was treated a lot of ways at the beginning, and she could have easily quit, not come back, and she just kept coming back every week and getting better and better and better, and kind of, interesting enough to see what kind of impact would happen if social media had been around, because they talk about the match with Jackie Gata, and I can imagine the reaction on social media when that match happened. It's unfortunate, like things like that, what happened when someone's, learning, and she's not a veteran, but she's taking the lead in this match, and people are going to use that as a way to kind of say, she's why is she still doing this, or so it's interesting to see at different elements in history, or different times in history, where you're like wondering, like, if social media was around, oh my God, what would have happened?
What would have happened? I want to just pivot off of that. So here we had Gunther wins the title, but then on Monday Night Raw, we're getting Randy and Gunther, which is great. I didn't think of this. Did you have that? I did not have them. Like, wait, great idea. Randy and him in Berlin, right? It's Bastion.
Yeah, Berlin. That's another thing. We're talking about WWE storytelling. It's like, I totally forgot that the King of the Ring had some controversy where when Gunther won the match, it's unfinished business, and then they bring back Randy Orton at the perfect time. And they're not, it's so great to see in WWE, though, they have all this talent, this stacked roster. They could have easily put this guy on the show, this guy on the show, but they're strategically using their guys and girls, and it creates a freshness too. You're not seeing the same matches over and over again, and they're making these matches feel special, and it's really great to kind of see how they've come full circle with this story.
I thought it was great, and I was like, you're right. There was a controversial ending to the match. So, and it's like, I've been waiting for Randy. Remember, I was like, he's going to turn on Cody. Well, that wasn't part of it yet. But then I want to get your thoughts on this. My understanding from today is this. When Reed text Seth was really because Seth is injured and has to be off TV for a while. That is what I read today. Is that are you getting those reports as well?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that happening, and if that was a way to do that, I mean, just incredible. Another thing, like, I did not see that coming, because we were like booking them in, we're booking Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and Seth in a triple threat match or some sort of thing, and then leading into the Bad Blood, and we had all these ideas in mind. Never in my wildest dreams did I think of Bronson Reed kind of popping into the scene, and they did such a great job with this. I mean, Bronson Reed always had the tools, there. He had the presence and everything. He just needed that one breakout moment. He's had the great matches, and he carries himself well.
Right. Here's the thing I want to ask you, and I don't know if I missed this. It could have been in the hospital. Did he have a moment where he went backstage and they said, was there a moment where somebody said to him, you need to do something to make a name for yourself?
So that was kind of the idea with when they were backstage
with Adam Pearce.
With Adam Pearce, and so they were kind of foreshadowing it a little bit, which was really cool, because you didn't know when or where or how or at this level that we would have saw that happen, and here we are. And now it's up to Bronson Reed to kind of take this moment and make the most of it, so it doesn't just get lost in the shuffle, because this is your moment. This is your breakout. When we look back at your career, if you make a big star out of yourself, we're going to go back to this one moment and say, hey, this is how it happened.
Right. So now where Seth is somehow, they said Seth's injuries aren't so bad, but they need to take him off TV. Right? Is that what I read?
Yeah, which is surprise. Like I'm trying
After
to
all, he's
think
just
about how I'm trying to think about what or how if that was I haven't really saw everything, to be honest. If it was true, I'm just trying to think of what was the moment, like so that'll be interesting to see.
So then does he
easily do.
just in your mind, does this get ushered into a program now with Seth? Or is it just to get Seth off and this gets revisited down the road after the Punk Seth thing? Punk Seth.
Yeah,
Because
well,
Punk
I think what should happen is at this point, because it's bubbling over and now we have the Bronson Reed thing going on, Drew and CM Punk are still doing their thing. You can easily kind of extend this anticipation, because if you remember, it was going to be CM Punk and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. So there is so much to history and things that you can kind of extend this now, especially I loved how they were like looking at each other and then it kind of Drew's back on in the scene. You can do Seth versus CM Punk at WrestleMania and kind of have it build and build and build and have that match that everybody wants to see on the biggest platform possible. So now I'm like wanting to see Bronson and Seth because they did such a great job with it. And there's so much. So I didn't even think about that. So I love being surprised in that sense.
So let's talk. I want to talk about you're there at SummerSlam. It's time for Drew, Punk, and Seth. What was that like what was it like in the press box? What were you feeling in the moment? What was it like watching it? And then all I remember is this.
One thing I was thinking though is Seth Rollins made a whole big thing about, his outfit and what was going to happen. I don't know. I thought it was a little tame for what I was expecting, got a sense of like Beetlejuice vibes, but I didn't think anything, craziness, but anyways, of course, we were excited that, CM Punk was back and
what was it like? Were they rooting for him?
Yeah, they were kind of, I don't know. I think it was like even because you love Drew right now. So I think that was one of the ones that were like, it could have been either one, but I just thought there was a point where I was cracking up. A lot of people were cracking up is when they were like fighting and then Seth is just like laughing when he's just having such a great time. Yeah. And it reminds me of the time where like, the Michael Jackson where he's like eating the popcorn as he's watching the chaos ensue there. So
it was so funny.
That was, yeah.
So funny. But what did you think of the end of the match? So obviously CM Punk feels screwed over by Seth, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the story of it is that, yeah. And then I'm just happy Drew got the win there. I was hoping that at that point. And then him getting the bracelet back and then kissing the bracelet at the end, that was like a chef's kiss with everything else going on. Is just when you think he can't get any more like personal and things like that. I'm just waiting for that AJ Lee run in. I mean, at some point, you're holding out hope. It's like Henry, where you say his name, and he shall appear. And maybe if we keep saying her name,
I feel she's coming. I do.
I just have a feeling, right? They just, I don't know, there's little things.
It's going to be, yeah. And one of the things you made a really great point about, and we're going to get into this in a minute with Roman, I do think they do a good job of like, you think he's coming back? Well, yes, you're right. He is coming back. Instead of how we all go, well, I'm not sure if it's going to be tonight, and I'm not sure if it's going to be tomorrow, and maybe it's too soon. They kind of play it right with like, this is when you think we're going to do it, is when we're going to do it. So here it is,
Yeah.
Instead of not.
Candace brought up a good potential match for Seth too, if it's not Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed Survivor Series.
Survivor Series. Yep.
Yeah.
But would Seth go after that title?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But it would be a good challenge for Braun, and once again, Seth gets cost to the match, or not letting Punk could still be like, you know what, I can't have a title, so you can't have a title, or something like that. Like they're
Her
gonna
name.
keep kind of messing with each other the whole time, just like with Drew. I could see it going that way too, but unless she meant Bronson Reed versus Seth too, because
I
then
think it's
that's a match.
Braun Breaker. Right.
Okay. Either one you can kind of make arguments for too. So to be honest,
So you're there, and what did you think of Sammy Braun Breaker? It was kind of, we knew this was going to happen, and
I
I
didn't
think
expect. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say this all to me is leading into the program, which we will get into shortly, of the Bloodline all reuniting. I see Sammy going back into the Bloodline to fight the other guys with the original OG Bloodline group. But because where is he going to go? He has no story. So there had to be a reason we're taking him out. You can't just have Sami Zayn doing nothing. So I feel he's going to end up back in the Roman story. But what did you think of the match between Braun and
I was surprised that they went such a route where it was a very definitive win. Like it wasn't just like back and forth, back and forth. Braun was like, it was a dominating win. And that was a statement that was made. And I think they did a great job with making that statement in a sense where now Braun is like this made man as the Intercontinental Champion. And he has his presence about him as well. And, Sami Zayn is one of those guys that he can lose like a Dolph Ziggler, like you can lose all the time and nothing, people still believe in him and they'll appreciate him and things like that. So at this point, it made sense because, the having title around Braun's waist just adds to him elevating and kind of ascending up the ladder where, like you said, now we can see where Sammy's going to go moving forward because, I think the business is done right now with Braun and Sammy to go now back, you said, revisit as we're getting inching closer and closer to Survivor Series, where at Bash in Berlin, we'll probably have a better idea what direction they're going to be going in, but we'll still have some pay-per-views ahead of that. But that seems like the end game towards the end of the, in November.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. So now maybe this was because I was in the hospital, or maybe I'm losing my mind, but
or both,
which is very possible. I have never in my life been so. I was almost in tears through this. I could not believe Cody from the trailer walking out the way that entrance was. I texted you about this, remember? I texted you from that's why I was so choked up. He was walking from there, and I have another picture.
Oh, good boy.
Yeah, just the cutest. So there you had Cody. You have that music. It's like, and I've never seen them do that walk from the trailer to getting his, man's best friend to Pharaoh in his arms. I mean, in his leash, and he walks Pharaoh, and the whole thing was just so touching. And then even going to the seamstress who I've seen years ago, putting the costume on and giving him a kiss. And like all of it was just so well done. And then to the Arn thing, like you've got backup and I'm here and there's more people than you think. And him just taking that all in. And then, he leaves the dog behind. And then you get the shot from the back as he's walking into the arena. I didn't love the head thing, but everything else was that. And then I was so touched. And then I'm just so choked up. And then I really feel he's like the ultimate babyface, like we have never had in years. Just the way he went down on either side of the arena with the kids, signing their autographs, shaking their hands, making their day. I don't know, I was really moved by it. I just have not seen that. I literally thought, I think we're watching the greatest babyface, certainly in decades. I thought it was great. What did you think?
Yeah, so I think Cody Rhodes has just this connection with the audience, and he puts in the work to build this connection. But also, I can't tell you how many people that I know that aren't like the biggest wrestling fans, and they'll watch a little bit and they'll say Cody Rhodes, and it's different age groups too. It's not just one age group. It's just he has this universal appeal right now. So, we'll see how long it lasts, because how cyclical things can be, or fickle things can be, how the world is. But at this very moment in time in this history, like, it's just incredible to see that connection. And then the extra layer of storytelling is a payoff if you pay attention and you're reading things outside of what we're seeing on television, because it adds more impact knowing that Pharaoh, he spoke about that's going to be Pharaoh's last, walk, you could say, in working as traveling, because, the dog's getting older. He wants him to be at home, kind of. So that, in addition, added another layer of emotion to it. And then Arn Anderson, like you said, coming back, that was another.
I was
that
like,
was just a great moment, and just seeing him talking to Cody before he goes out for the big match, and everything was just so well done. And I've been liking that little nuances and these little things that make such a big difference when you're doing these entrances. We've seen it with Sami Zayn, we've seen it with Jey Uso. We're seeing how they're entering the arena, they're entering the building, they're entering, going to the ring, and in different ways. So it's showing that it's not just one way of doing things. And I think a lot of times WWE would stick to the same formula, and we would see everything kind of the same. And now we're seeing, like, you're seeing all these different perspectives, including with the entrances. And one thing that I wanted to bring up real quick before we continue on is what we didn't talk about is the ref cam. That was very unique, is seeing the different viewpoint. And that's another thing that they kind of added. And you're getting to see the different camera shots too. But that's just another, element to make you feel immersed into the experience of watching a WWE show right now.
Exactly. I wanted to also clarify. So I remember on the Pharaoh part, at the time that happened, there was I was watching social media, right? And people were like, oh my God, are they putting the dog down? Are they putting the dog? It's like they were going there, and we're like, what's happening? What do you mean? And I so appreciated that post that Cody put on Instagram. Like, no, he's just not going to be traveling with me anymore. He'd rather be home sleeping. He's getting old. And then didn't he introduce him to the little Pomeranian? That's the other dog. There's another dog.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about. I'm just kidding. No, yeah, yeah.
But anyways, the point is, when have you seen? When have you? I don't remember when I've seen this before with the champion. So, I thought that was really a great touch. Okay, so Cody's come out, Solo's out. We've got Bloodline rules, and of course, you're all thinking, well, how stupid are you, Cody, to do Bloodline rules again, right? Like. And then you're like, all right, who are the backup? So obviously you see Tama Tonga and Tamaloa, the whole thing, and they interfere in the match. And out comes Randy, and out comes Kevin. And I'm like, is Randy going to turn on him? But of course that didn't happen. And then, of course, was the big setup. So you are there, and this happens. And now I am in the hospital, like, losing my shit. I'm like,
they're thinking it's an emergency. Probably the nurses are coming in, checking up on
like,
you.
We have to get this guy.
Are you okay, sir?
I'm like, wow. They're like, are you having a code red in here? I'm like, Roman Reigns is back.
That's what I'm picturing anyway. That's how it happened.
Like, what? We don't care. We need to give you your drugs. I'm like, I know. So Roman comes out. The music hit. Was it a variation of the music? It felt like it was like an altered version of it a little bit, right?
For sure.
And I thought it was great that he came out by himself. What was it like when you guys were in the press box? Was the pop insane in the place? Like, what happened? What was it like for you?
Well, I will talk about the match first of all. It was eerily quiet for a long time of the match, and that goes back to, for me anyways, is, again, Solo. It just shows me, I don't know, the match. If it was just straight up match one-on-one, they would be in trouble. The reaction that they were getting.
It was done.
It would have been a, I hate to say it, it would have been a dud. Solo works hard. He's good in the role of what he's doing. It's just building that connection. It's just having to follow with Roman Reigns. I think that did him a disservice a little bit in the sense, but in the storytelling, but Solo's coming a long way, but it was also the fact that it was like people were anticipating, run-ins, because Arn Anderson basically was saying, hey, you got some friends coming, and then
And
it's Bloodline rules, and you're waiting for the Bloodline rules to start, and then it's like, okay, when is this all going to happen? And then it finally starts happening, and then you see it more and more. So it's almost like, I hate to say it, but it's almost like Solo was a pawn in everything going on up to that point. And then with Roman coming back, it's going to be interesting to see how he continues to work and elevate Solo, and where this goes. But I'm just like picturing how, he decided, like Arn said he's calling friends, and Arn called Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman's like, hey, call Roman Reigns. Did he get his phone number? Did they talk directly?
Right.
I know.
Exactly.
I want to see what happens Friday. Yeah. Because we're going to see on Friday Roman coming back. And then does that mean Paul Heyman's going to come back? Because we haven't seen Paul Heyman since he got attacked.
I say yes.
So you think he's going to come out at the same time with him?
But
I just thought, I was going to say and then of course when somebody does a comeback or return, they always got to have the new merch readily available, ready to go, including I think it was a Roman Reigns like championship belt that also got sold, and it made like some ridiculous amount, 6-figure, 800,000. I don't know, something crazy amount of money, because it sold out. It was like an exclusive. And then the OTC, like you just showed that. I just think of like medicine or medication. Like, are you gonna take your OTC today? Like, you were in the hospital, so.
No, I'm in the hospital, and I'm like, wait, let me get my wallet. I want to get. Oh, and then I order it, right? Like everyone else. And it goes,
you did order it. Okay.
I did order it. And because I'm literally sitting in the hospital. I'm like, I'm going to order this. So
I ordered it.
Wait, this is great. And then it pops up like delivers August. It's not even ready to be delivered, right? They put it out. It's not ready, right? So I'm like, ugh, that's how either out of it I was or excited I was. I don't know. But I bought
It's funny you say that because, during SummerSlam weekend, or WWE weekend like this, you want to make sure to stop at the Superstore. So they have all this great stuff, right? And this time around was kind of the most dangerous thing to do because I'm with my wife, and usually she'll get a hat and I might get a shirt or something like that, or a program or something like that. The program for this was literally just photos, which is really disappointing. Like, it had the cool Bloodline cover, but inside was literally just photos. It didn't even have like matches. It was literally like a yearbook. Like, it had The Rock in there. It had John Cena and guys that weren't even part of that, which got me thinking, like, are they going to be coming? But also my friend who mentioned that they kind of saw like a John Cena like screen thing on the stadium like the night before. I don't know. But anyways, so they had all this stuff, and my wife, she was not, keep in mind, she wasn't a wrestling fan or anything with wrestling before she met me, right? But when she was a kid, she would always see these little brawling buddies, like the old school Hulk Hogan and all those other ones. Yeah, so she remembers those, and she says, I always wanted one of those. And they actually had those at the Superstore. And I'm like walking around looking at shirts. I'm like, what is in your hand? And it's like full. It's like the way it's wrapped up. It's not like fully out. And she's like, she's getting the Roman Reigns one. And I'm like, wait, I didn't realize. Like, he's like, oh, it's so cool. I love Rome. I think I'm gonna get it because you never know. And and keep in mind, we brought a book bag for Vegas and we brought a book bag for Cleveland. So we didn't have suitcases. So we were like worried that we're gonna have to like pay for the carry-on after all this, but she still managed to. What she did was she made it her pillow for the airplane ride. But I just thought it was like, and then she like, and then Roman comes out and she's like thinking, she's like, see, I told you I got that one for a reason, and now I have it. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. So
wait, is she a Roman fan then?
I mean, she's a Roman fan to a certain extent. One thing one person she is a huge fan of is Rey Mysterio. That's who got her into wrestling. Rey Mysterio and Shawn Michaels, but Rey Mysterio because of the masks, which she also bought a mask as well. And let me tell you, the masks at the Superstore are not cheap. They're not these, yeah, they have like many masks, and I have plenty of masks. Like when I went to Mexico a couple times, I wanted to get masks. And she's a big fan of masks. And we have these little display things that I put, like I have a Jushin Thunder Liger mask. I have Ultimo Dragon mask.
Yeah.
And I have a Rey Mysterio mask, but I don't have I have a camouflage one. And she saw one, and there was actually a Halloween Havoc one, which was really cool. But I'm not sure where this one was from. But she liked the feathers on it, and she's like, "So we're going to check out." And she's got the Roman Reigns buddy, the Rey Mysterio mask. We got. I don't know what happened on that trip, but we ended up spending more money than we'd like. But that's that's the WWE Superstore for you. So.
That'll do
But
it.
that was my tangent. I just had to share that because that was
that's amazing. I was going to ask. So you're in when the swerve happened.
Yeah.
Right. It was so great because there was that 1 second. Was he going to hit clock Cody or was he going to clock Solo? There was that.
Yeah.
It was so perfectly done by Roman because I honestly believe this. I've watched so much wrestling over the years I've been alive, and I really think Roman is truly just everything in the ring, from the facial expressions to the moves. Like, he has so much. He makes the story happen. So what did you think of? Were you like, yeah? Or what did you think? I mean, I was so happy he hit Solo.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, he's managed to put everything together. He managed to absorb everything he's learning from Paul Heyman, Triple H, everyone. And it's interesting because we're sitting in the press box, and I'm looking down at the crowd, and as the match is going on, with the other Bloodline members and the guys, and there was actually people in the crowd that actually was like thinking Solo was going to win at certain points. Like, I saw this lady, like, the whole time she was like this. She was like, they're like this the whole time, like wondering. And then, when Roman's music hits, you see everyone like go crazy. But I'm sure, they're going to show more of it like they did on Raw, but as you would expect. But it's interesting because before this, I saw him in I saw someone take photos with him in South Florida, and he was visiting the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, so he's doing these like amazing things off the clock, or not off the clock, but outside the ring, and it's building that up. And then you're wondering when he's going to come back, and then you see he's had this break. I mean, me personally, I'll be honest with you, like, I don't know where the story is going, so maybe I'll be thinking differently, but I feel like there's still a little bit more that they could have stretched just a little bit more. But once you saw that the CM Punk Drew McIntyre match was not on last, that this had to happen, or else people were going to be very disappointed.
Right. I just thought, okay, so here we go. And tomorrow night, Roman returns to SmackDown. It's got to be, I would assume the ratings will be high for that episode. I heard that Raw was through the roof. This Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and it was on Sci-Fi. Like, just crazy. That's even crazier to think that on a different channel.
I heard it was #1 cable of the night and beat the Olympics, they were saying.
I didn't see that, but I can imagine, it was like 1.7 something million viewers, which is like insane when you think about on USA Network, it's on a certain channel. It sometimes doesn't do numbers like that. And then on Sci-Fi, a different network, it's just like crazy to see that. And it makes you wonder, like you said, what's going to happen on tomorrow. And then next Friday is going to be in Orlando, my stomping ground. So that's going to be even fun to see.
Are you going? You're going?
I'm going to try to go. I haven't kind of fully gotten committed yet, but I'm looking forward to hopefully going.
I think SmackDown?
Yeah. So they're doing a Florida loop, which is interesting because they normally do this around this time of year, but a lot of times they do it in December where the weather is like, where they want to be in South Florida. But it's interesting because they're doing the Orlando show next week, and they're doing so many appearances for it. So I'm wondering why are they doing for this? I know that a lot of them are local, but in this specific, I never see this many appearances. Like Saturday, I just got an email that they're going to have A-Town Down Under appearing randomly at an appearance. And then Naomi's going to be at an appearance on the 15th, I think. And then they're going to have another appearance with LA Knight. He's signing vodka bottles at an ABC Liquor near me. So you're having all these appearances in Orlando.
You've got work to do and come back to report.
But and then they're going to have a show in Lakeland, which is from my house, it's about an hour away. So you're talking about Orlando and then Lakeland. And the Lakeland show, which is on a Saturday, is actually a super show. So you're going to see Raw and SmackDown wrestlers there as well. So
Well,
last
let me.
time they did Lakeland, it was one of the best live events that I'd ever been to. So
I was just gonna say. So here I am, right? I'm in the hospital, and I'm like waiting. They're gonna tell me Survivor Series is in LA. It's in LA, and I'm like, it's Vancouver. I was like, that didn't even
are you
work
going to
out.
go? You're going to go to Canada?
I don't know. I was thinking it was going to be in LA. And I was like, oh, this will be great. The Bloodline. Candace is talking about Baltimore and Raw going hand in hand because she's in
Yeah.
Baltimore, I believe. So she's saying that's a Raw town.
Oh my God, the crowd on Raw, like Baltimore brought it. That the energy from that show, just awesome. Like that really a great crowd really does elevate a show.
100%. So I'm saying, let's do this. So you're saying, where do you think this goes? Do you see Roman getting the group back together? Jimmy, Jay, Sammy, him against it has to be against the other Bloodline at Survivor Series, right?
But I think in order to do this, though, you got to keep building up Solo and making him a threat. You can't have Roman just beating the crap out of Solo and the Bloodline,
right.
which we're already kind of slowly starting to see, and it makes them look inferior. So you need to have that level of, danger and things like that. And, there was a lot of talk about the condition of Jacob Fatu following,
Right.
with everything, and he's walking around with the boot. So, but yeah, you got to have them build this up to a certain point where Roman finds he needs the backup, like where he has to go, suck it up, talk to the Usos, talk to whoever, and kind of,
Brilliant.
suck it up.
That's it. Because that's the only way to kind of still make him have to pay for everything he did. He has to go back to everyone and be like, I need you. You need, right. And see if they'll.
He has to build that sympathetic babyface sort of thing.
Right.
Because he's the dominant force, and you need the other side to be, a threat.
Do you see this being the babyface run, or do you think we're going to be shocked and he's not?
Oh, I definitely think right now Roman is, monster babyface. I don't, but then again, it's interesting because Cody Rhodes is the monster babyface right now. Although, given the reaction, by the way, LA Knight rebounded in crowd reaction. Like that crowd was eating him up. And Jey Uso, though, I mean, I know I'm going on a tangent, but Baltimore got something really special on Raw after SmackDown after SmackDown ended. Not Baltimore, I'm sorry. Cleveland got something very special. I'm all over the place. But so after they had a dark match after SmackDown went off the air, and it was like the Judgment Day, which we would find out was the last time teaming together as a group with Damian Priest. And, it was like all the baby faces, like the Miz, which I can't believe I'm saying Miz babyface, but R-Truth, Rey Mysterio, Jey Uso. And the first part of the match was basically not even the match. It was them doing the yeet and the entrance, and they would shut the music off, and then they would do it again, and they would shut the music off, and the crowd just like the electricity of it all and the reaction that he got that night, like that was his SummerSlam moment. That was the Miz's SummerSlam. That was, all those guys' big moments. Like I know Miz had his moment at SummerSlam, but for Jey Uso, a lot of people are like, why was Jey Uso left off the card? But this dude, you can argue, is right up there with Cody Rhodes almost in popularity. So something's got to give, though. When you're having if Roman Reigns is the babyface too, Cody Rhodes is this monster babyface, Jey Uso, LA Knight. It's like interesting to see, what gives. Are the fans gonna turn on someone at this point?
Cody?
That's what I'm wondering. A lot of people are saying like a natural progression for Cody, but I don't know. Like I feel like that would lose so much merch and everything.
I think the merch would be bad. I also think that the problem, like we talked about last episode, was Cody's run hasn't been that great because I don't think he's had any opponent that has been threatening that you'd think like this guy could possibly win. I just don't think they've given him those opponents yet. Unless, do you think that we're going to get Roman Cody?
I don't think we're gonna get that at the moment, unless like you said, Roman's gonna try to take back the title. But his vendetta right now is the Bloodline. He's got to get his house in order before he can go for any championship. So I don't think we're getting to that point. I know we are, and it'll be interesting to see if Cody ends up being the heel in that scenario next time around. And we have The Rock looming as well, as Candace has brought up.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talking about maybe we're going to see Cody versus The Rock at WrestleMania.
And then Roman Solo, but Solo just doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. They got a lot of work to do. For
Unless
me, again, Jacob Fatu is the match. Like I can see Fatu versus Roman.
Mm-hmm. He is unbelievable. So that whole scenario where it looked like he injured his leg was not true. It was part of the story.
Apparently, apparently which is good news because you definitely want him in the mix.
I mean, he's the one. I mean, he is unbelievable.
He's the guy that's threatening. Yeah, so you can do Ray. You could do Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu. Like Solo Sikoa would be like, you really want me? Well, you can't get me until you face every other member of that Bloodline group. So, and then we see the build from there. So that might be a scenario that we see.
The other thing that I read and I wanted to ask you about is they're saying Seth turns heel, Roman is face, and it's a Seth Roman.
I mean, it's interesting. Yeah. I don't know with different shows and things like that, but what was interesting to me is with Bronson Reed and that attack is the fans were getting on Bronson Reed's side. They were chanting like one more time on poor Seth Rollins, and it's getting you to think like, they love the music, they love, certain things, but they can easily turn on you at a dime, and that can easily be one way Seth Rollins comes back as a heel. Like, it'd be like, I heard you. You said one more time as I'm getting beaten up, and I put my blood, sweat, and tears and making that championship that's currently around Gunther's waist mean something, and then this is the thanks I get, and I can easily see that kind of being a thing.
Before we wrap, Candace does make a good point too. What about we have this whole John Cena tour coming up. We have the whole farewell tour of John Cena still to go. Do you see him factoring in to giving him a championship one more time?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn in that. Like, do we want to? But then again, I'm thinking like at this point with Ric Flair as problematic. I hate to say it, but as problematic as he is when it comes to a PR, that they might want to have John Cena be the one that has that record and be like, okay, it's John Cena actually that's the record. Oh no, Ric Flair did it, but John Cena now is the guy to do that. It'd be nice for him to have that one last moment. And he is, when you think of WWE, he's the epitome of WWE. When you think of WWE, like think of Hulk Hogan, you think of John Cena, got Stone Cold Steve Austin, things like that. So I wouldn't mind seeing it if that was the case. But the question is like how John Cena's mindset is right now and wanting to elevate and help others. Like, I don't know if it's something that he would want to accept to happen.
Well, guys, we are close out of time. We didn't even get to AEW Dynamite. We're just so there's so much to cover with this. But I will say, I'm getting a little annoyed with Mercedes Moné at this point. But what was your takeaway from last night's Dynamite?
It's I think that did a clever way of factoring what was going on with Britt Baker and with that. So, and she's doing a lot to elevate. Like, I love Camille. I think she's great on the NWA roster. Yeah. And I think attaching her to Mercedes right now is great, and it could lead down the line with the two of them facing off, and then Mercedes helping elevate Camille, which is a lot of people, say what you want about, you may not, how you feel about her personally or something like that, but you can't deny the ability that when that bell rings, how good she is in that ring. And
Mercedes is amazing. Mercedes?
Yeah, so
I thought she's one of the greatest. I love Mercedes in the ring. I'm just saying she did this whole, she's gone so far heel since she got there. Like,
it's almost irritating for you, like changing the channel, you think?
Right. It's like, okay, well, because I love Mercedes Moné. But as in the ring,
Right.
But the other thing I was going to say, real quick, the one thing I think AEW has an issue with every time they do All In at Wembley, being the second year, there's always this week, like 3 week stretch. Like it's almost like they peak too soon. Now they got to fill up 3 weeks till we get to All In, right? Because now we're repeating ourselves. Like it's a really great card, and I'm really looking forward to it. But now we've got a couple shows. We've still got like 2 more or 1 more. 2 more.
Oh, we got a couple more.
There's 2 more Dynamite plus Collision plus whatever,
plus Rampage and all those other
whatever
things.
All right, guys. Yeah. Well, we'll be back. It's so great to talk to you, Scott. So your overall grade for SummerSlam is what? Cleveland gets a D, but the show.
I don't know if I want to go that. I'm not going to be that vicious. But I mean, I'm going to say a solid B+ to A-. It was a good show, though. It was good.
I will say
I was entertained. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's so predictable." I'm like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, honestly.
I was going to say maybe it was better I was like, obviously I was going crazy in the hospital, so maybe it was better than I thought. I don't know, but I gave it like a B+.
Yeah, I think that's a fair grade. I mean, I think everything kind of did well for the most part, and it went fast too. I love the pay-per-views now. The pacing of them, it doesn't feel like such a chore to watch. Like I think having the matches breathe and spread. A lot of people are complaining about, there was so much time in between the matches, but I appreciated that. Like, I like having time to kind of process what happened. And that's kind of, for me, I thought that was a good thing.
The one thing last thing I forgot, the move of the night was Logan Paul, that somersault off you remember that? It was like,
yeah, but I don't know I actually don't think that's the move of the night. I think it's the Jelly Roll choke slam.
Oh, right.
Like Austin Theory sold that really good.
Whole thing. It was
He
great.
made him look like $1 million.
You're right.
I love Jelly Roll. That was great.
Move of the night what's up wrestling move of the night goes to Jelly Roll.
Yes,
I got to give it to Jelly Roll.
But yes, Logan Paul always delivering when it comes to that. That
where does he go? What happened to him now?
Yeah, I mean, did you see he filed a motion against LA Knight? So I don't think we've seen the end of this rivalry. So that's kind of telling me that.
All right, everybody. Jelly Roll was good. Candace says, yes, he was. I thought it was like he went.
Yeah. Oftentimes, they'll bring in people to play for shows, and I'm like, please shut this off. But I love Jelly Roll. I was like, I'm here for the Jelly Roll concert and SummerSlam. So if you want to, have a couple more songs, I'm all for it. So.
I agree. Did you see Stevie Nicks stuff at the museum? Was there
Yeah, I saw some Fleetwood Mac stuff. There were some really cool things there. For her, so many there. It was perfect because it was one of the new exhibit was 1984, which is the year I was born. So, and it's considered the greatest year in music because it was MTV, all these things was happening. So that was really cool.
I always love doing shows on here because I'm always the oldest person in the room. But other than that, thank you, Scott, so much. We will talk very soon for another episode of What's Up Wrestling. Watch the Michael Fairman channel and our X accounts and our social media. Where can they find you, Scott?
SM Fishman, or you can do a Google search and Scott Fishman and you'll find some stuff. Except the poker player. I'm not the poker player and I'm not the Spike TV guy. So I'm the other guy. So
choose your Fishman wisely.
Yes, exactly.
Wisely.
I like that. I got to use that.
Right,
yes.
Fishman, right? Choose your Fishman wisely.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.